About a month ago, I traded all my Canon gear for micro four thirds gear. Do I regret it? Absolutely not at all. So welcome to Flamborough. I've come down to the Drinking Dinosaur this morning. I'm going to take a few photographs at sunrise. Hopefully we're going to get a bit of light here shortly. The sun is going to rise with a little bank of cloud over there, and I'm hoping it's going to cast some really nice warm light on the side of these cliffs down here. So let's get a photograph set up and play the long exposure waiting game. So let's get stuck in and see what we can do this morning. Alright, so this first photograph is going to be something of a composite image. So we've got a 10-stop ND filter on and a hard edge graduate filter just to bring the sky back a little bit. And we're going to do the long exposure just to flatten out all of the water. But the way the waves are crashing about, it's leaving some really great texture in the surf and everything. So what we're going to do, when the sun comes up, we're going to keep the camera where it is, and when the sun comes up, we're going to take another photograph and hopefully free some of the motion in the water and also get some nice warm light on the cliffs around us. Alright, so there's the first photograph taken. So 50 seconds, f5, ISO 200. We had the 3-stop hard-edged graduated filter on and the 10-stop ND filter, just to give it that classic long exposure look with a flattened out water. So what we're going to do now, the sun is going to rise behind me. I'm just going to wait for the sun to come up, start casting some light on here. Obviously taking the filters off now, we'll get the faster shutter speed. The plan is to get the warm light on the cliffs and hopefully we're going to free some of the motion in the surf that I can paste on top of the long exposure look, just to give the water a little bit more of an interesting look to it. So it's just a waiting game now. Hopefully not going to be too long. It's a bit nippy out here. I'm shivering just a little bit. Let's just hang around and hopefully we'll get this light and be able to free some of this and make a nice composite image out of this. So sometimes the best laid plans don't really materialise, and there is just a big awful band of cloud that is now bubbled up on the horizon, blocking any potential sunlight, which is really quite frustrating. So I think what we're going to do, we're going to stick with the original plan of freezing the motion, some of the waves. We're still going to do the composite. It's not looking too likely that we're going to get some nice warm golden light shining on everything, which is a bit of a shame, but well, that's the way it goes with this landscape photography sometimes. So let's get stuck in. Let's take this second photograph that we're going to lay on top of the first photograph. Right, so the plan here, we're just going to ride the shutter as the waves keep rolling around, and hopefully we'll get one with enough texture in the water that we're able to overlay this onto the original image. So we're still at f5, a 1/25th of a second, which is a little underexposed actually, so we can maybe get away with dropping that down a little bit, and then we'll go an 80th of a second. We'll keep riding the shutter. We'll get enough frames, enough texture that we can overlay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep doing this for a few minutes and I will show you the final composite image. So during my recent adventures shooting micro four thirds, I've been able to kind of dispel a couple of myths. A few nights ago I went out and did that thing that you're not supposed to do with a micro four thirds camera and shoot at night at a high ISO of ISO 1600, and well, you can't do it. Alright, well apparently you can do, and it does actually work out quite well. So I don't know where the whole micro four thirds high ISO nighttime don't do it thing comes from. It was maybe some guy on a forum 15 years ago called Kenneth, I don't know. He maybe started a rumour and everybody jumped on the bandwagon without actually going out and doing it, I don't know. So the light has all but gone. It's just now grey, flat, dull and miserable. So the plan, grey, flat, miserable, long exposures. I think we're going to try and get down into the cove. High tide was about an hour ago, so I'm not too sure how much beach is going to be available down there, but well, we'll give it a go and see what happens. So let's get down to the beach and have a play. So a beach, there is none. It's kind of giving me an idea though. I'm wondering if I can maybe use these steps, shoot down the steps into the water down there and make a long exposure of the water at the bottom, because it's about the only option I've got right now. So we'll stand here, have a look, have a fettle, have a play, and see if we can't make an image out of this. And then we're going to head back up to where I stood before, because I have seen one that I can take from there. Let's see how this turns out. Okay, so I've got a photograph kind of worked out here. It's not the best photograph I've ever taken. I'm not in love with it, but it'll do, and you're going to get the long exposure look anyway. But before we take this photograph, what I need to do, I need to look at the scene and I need to meter off things, because I really need to take the dynamic range of this scene, because obviously I'm using a micro four thirds camera, and dynamic range on micro four thirds cameras is actually pretty good, because this Olympus EM-1 Mark II here has around a stop and a half more dynamic range than any Canon full frame camera that I've ever used. So I don't really know where the argument comes from, but let's test it. Let's have a look and see the dynamic range of this scene. Alright, so I threw the camera into spot metering mode, and the difference between the brightest parts of the waves and the darkest parts of the cliffs, it's 5 stops. Thank God for that. I was worried in case I was going to need all 12. People overrate dynamic range, I think. I thought that HDR over-sharpened, overdone look had gone out the window about 15 years ago. Apparently it hasn't. Anyway, so this photograph here, f10, 1.3 seconds, ISO 200, and we're at 9 stops on the variable ND filter. I'm going to go ahead using a 2-second timer. Here we go. So when I first picked up a camera 3, 4, 5 years ago, I did what I assume maybe a lot of you are doing or have done, is binge watching a lot of photography content on YouTube, you know, getting some tips and tricks and ideas. This is how things work. And I kind of noticed that all of the people that I was watching were using these full frame cameras with these expensive lenses, and in my naivety I thought, aha, here we go, this is the key to it. We need to go out and get the Canon full frame cameras, the Canon full frame L lenses, and this is what's going to make or break the photography. And as time's gone on, I kind of realised that that necessarily wasn't the case. You see, the thing that makes a difference with the photography is the person using the camera. And now that's not me saying that I'm the world's best photographer, but it would apply to each and every one of you watching this video. I'm going to go out and take the same photograph with this micro four thirds camera as I would have done with the Canon full frame cameras. If you see what I'm saying there, it's not the camera that's taking the photograph, it's the person using it. And as soon as the penny dropped with that, and I realised that the Olympus systems have all of the features that the Canon systems was lacking, such as the focus peaking, the highlight and the shadow clipping, the inbuilt body stabilisation, all these little quality of life features that build up to make a package that the cameras that I was using don't have, and the features that I didn't realise that I needed or would find useful until I actually stepped out of my comfort zone with the Canon and tried a camera that had these things. And in all honesty, I've not regretted the decision in the slightest. In fact, I've kind of fallen in love with photography all over again, using a camera that does things that I want it to do, things that I've seen other cameras do in the past and never had the features, never been able to do. Suddenly I've got a camera that's capable of doing it, and it's been a game-changing situation for my photography. So let's get stuck in. Let's go find one more photograph that I've got my eye on. Hopefully this is going to work out all right. There is some texture still in the sky. Obviously the sky is now clouded over now. We've not got the nice blue skies that we had earlier on. Hopefully we'll be able to retain some texture and we'll get a nice photograph of that sea stag there. Okay, so I've got this photograph lined up now. So we've got a 10-stop filter in, we've got the 3-stop hard edge graduated filter on, and I'm really drawn to the way that the surf is swirling around between the cliff and the sea stack. So I'm hoping that we're going to be able to retain some of that with this photograph. So settings wise, we're at 2.5 seconds, f4 and ISO 200. So let's go ahead. We're going to use a 2-second timer. There's a big wave just rolling around now, so hopefully that'll give us a lot of white water and a lot of white swirling going on. Oh, quite like that. It seems as if, yeah, we've got the waves there. We've got the waves there rolling up the side of the cliff. I quite like that, so here is this final image from today's video. So there we go, just another morning at the coast taking some long exposure photographs. The weather didn't really materialise how I was hoping it was going to. The weather forecast once again lied to me. We've just ended up with grey, flat, dull, and miserable looking photographs, but it is what it is. It's been a while since I've actually been out and made one of these videos and done any real photography, so it's been nice for me just to get back out to the coast again and do what I enjoy doing. And well, I don't regret swapping to the micro four thirds system, and I hope any of you that are thinking about doing the same have seen this video and thought, well, actually they're quite capable little cameras, because they really are. In my eyes, they're underrated, and I don't know where that comes from. Honestly, I do not. If you have enjoyed today's video, please do give it a thumbs up, because it really does help bring new viewers to see my content. If you are new here, please consider hitting the subscribe button below there. It doesn't cost you anything, and it really does help me out and helps me and encourages me to make these videos every single week. So until the next time, I'm going to love you and leave you and say peace and goodbye.